All right, this is recording 848. The name of this podcast is Listen Next 848. You can find me at speakingtothecia.com or christinastation918.com. You can find me on YouTube, christinastation918. So this recording is going to be a mix again of more decode, more connecting loose ends. Again, as you know, I am turning in JEANJERNIGAN ROBERTS OFMILTONFL. I'm not turning her in, quote, Jean, unquote. I'm literally turning her in. She is stalking me and my family. She has stalked me all of my life since before I was born. She is a terrorist. She is a trafficker. Okay, so, all right, so continuing on with my podcast here. Okay, so, all right, so another thing somebody pointed out to me that she also did was another punny that she did when she assaulted me with a pencil when I was 2 months old, and her sacrificial preparations for planning to do the World Trade Center attack. Okay, you're going to see all codes, see on my podcast. Okay, so another thing that she used was pin cushion. Okay, oh, I said that in my last podcast, pin cushion. Okay, no. There's more. Pin cushion bracelet. Because then she plans for the bracelet to turn into future cuffs. Like she got away with it all. And then probably her cushioning making money and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so moving forward. Okay, same topic. Different part of decoding Gene Roberts' damn demonic ciphers. Okay. That's what I'm decoding is Gene Roberts and her Manson occults. Ku Klux Klan. It's her Charles Manson ciphers. I'm sure the Ku Klux Klan helped her too. The Ku Klux Klan funded her. So, anyway, okay. So, you know how she used the movie Flashdance as a theme for doing the World Trade Center attack? She used a lot of themes. Flashdance, starring Jennifer Beals, was a major theme. Okay, there was a woman. I'm sorry, she's controlling my speech. She's trying to make me sound all nursery rhymey. Okay, the most famous singer from the movie is Irene. Her name is Irene Cara. And she sang a song called What a Feeling. Okay? All right. So, anyway, you're going to want to see all code, Irene Cara. In fact, Gene Roberts, as I explained to you in my entire podcast, she used everything from Flashdance, and she used the entire, down to even using leg warmers. She used it all. But she used the entire soundtrack, okay? So, anyway, and Irene Cara, more to point out here, obviously, her also stalking another family that I was married into, okay, what she doubles on. So, first is me, okay? Then, I'm the original. I'm not really the original Raggedy Ann. She's been doing this, but I'm the Scorpio child, so I'm the sacrifice. No. You get turned in, Gene. You're not getting away with this. You're not gonna do any of your little damn demonic shit. Everybody knows you're a terrorist and you're committing terrorism. Everybody knows you're in an occult. You're in an occult. You're the leader of an occult. Everybody knows you're Ku Klux Klan. You're towards the top of Ku Klux Klan or leader of the Ku Klux Klan or whatever the hell your freaking Cyclops ass is. But anyway, so, okay, so it starts back with the Carrie, because she also uses Stephen King as a theme also throughout my life, all of my life. She used Stephen King. I don't know about in my teenage years. I know in my grade school years, she used Stephen King books. I told you she based my life and she controlled my life, so it was warped around horror movies, primarily in my grade school years. So a lot of Stephen King. So I've decoded a ton of Stephen King. And I've actually got to talk to Stephen King in mental telepathy. I met him in mental telepathy when I lived in Dallas, and it was when I was first decoding, when I got my Pogo Stick Award at East Globe Elementary in grade school, and I was decoding it all out. I was in huge tears. I was in so many tears decoding that. But anyway, you have to see that previous podcast. But anyway, that's when I met him. He got really, really pissed. Like, he got super pissed. And he was like, he took my pogo stick from grade school and he put a freaking knife at the end of it. Like, well, that was at first he would just take the pogo stick and then he would throw the pogo stick to me, like in my brain and brain visuals. He would take the pogo stick and he would throw the pogo stick to me, and then he'd have me use it to stab Jean with, because she'd be on in my brain with her little snot Manson occultist spreading their lies and doing all their nasty shit. And then I had on literally and Barack Obama. There's all kinds of people on, because I was being completely terrorized at the same time with snakes everywhere. It was crazy. It was crazy. But anyway, so she'd go on and she'd spread lies and she'd try to terrorize me. And then Stephen King would be like, I don't know how to explain this. It'd be like dark in my brain, like dark, and then like he would light up. You know how, like, you know what it looks like in an interrogation room, where it looks like it's like there's a dim light, it's dim in there, and then there's a string coming down, and there's a light bulb, and then there's a single light bulb, and the light's just shining down, and then all the focus is there. So kind of like that. So in my brain, it's like all dark, and then the light just barely lights up, and then there's Stephen King, and he's like, Christina, he's like, catch. And he like throws me my own pogo stick that I won the best pogo sticker of the year award with. And then he throws it and I catch it in my brain, and I'm holding it like I'm going to go stab Jean. So anyway, whenever she would attack me, he would throw me my pogo stick, and then I'd be like with my pogo stick like at Jean, like, bitch, you're going to get it. But anyway, so a lot of people did a lot of really have been with me this past 10 years in mental telepathy, keeping me very, very strong at getting Jean Roberts turned in. Now, I'm in Tulsa now, and you know, Jean thinks it's a wrap. She thinks she got away with stealing my name, stealing my life, selling my life story everywhere to a whole bunch of different people. And some people literally live off of pretending to be me, actually literally stealing my identity. It's insane. But she doesn't get away with anything. I've got her turned in. So anybody who's been helping her do that, you know, you're automatically turned in too. So anyway, so in the 70s, okay, so Stephen King's It and Carrie, okay? So remember what I told you with Carrie, how she used the movie Carrie icing me when I was little. And then I went over to my friends across the street. I lived at 306 East in Cottonwood. I went to my friends across the street, and then my friends were at and this was the whole ICE event. Like, it's a child abuse ring, because she's abusing all of us children. She's a psychopath. She's a complete psychopath. So it's not like a regular childhood memory. I mean, you've got a damn demonic freaking occult bitch ice raping the shit hell out of all of us, abusing us all, thinking it's funny, And God knows what she's done to all my other little childhood friends. But anyway, so I'm on my friend's front porch, and I'm in a brand new sundress that my grandma Wilson bought me. And it was a little black sundress with little flowers on it. And I'm on the porch, and they're like stand right there, and then they start dropping water balloons on me, and it's supposed to be a reenactment of Carrie, okay? And Carrie starred Sissy Spacek. Anyway, and then also Spacek, I already decoded this, Spacek, and then later on she uses that. Oh my God, she freaking did that too. I don't know how you guys tolerate Gene Roberts. I really don't. I'm about to... I'm about to bust out laughing. Oh my God. SpaceX. Sissy. You use Sissy Spacek? I don't know how SpaceX is dealing with this. I really don't. I don't know how you're tolerating Gene Roberts. But I know the actual Secret Service, I imagine a lot of people in SpaceX have had their fill of Eugene Jernigan Roberts. But anyway, so that was one of the things that she did using Stephen King. And then later on, she marries me into a family. She controls all of my relationships. She controls my whole life. She controls my parents' life. She controls my life. I mean, all that. Okay, so you guys already know all that. So anyway, and then they, by no coincidence, have my ex-stepdaughter's mom's name, by no coincidence, is Carrie, which proves back to the 70s, again, Gene Jernigan Roberts was stalking their family line. Okay, so she's like stalked literally the heck out of like all of us. So anyway, okay, so my ex-stepdaughter's aunt, okay, who I've already talked about in here, and she's got my podcast. She listens to my podcast. She's even gone on in my brain and mental telepathy. Hey, we figured out this. So they know everything that they know that Gene is like attacking you in your brain, and then you're like chunk, and you're like, and then you put people in like NASA suits and like chunk, and you make them go foo, and now celebrities are going. They come in and then they go blah, 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 attacking at Gene, and then they go foom, and then they freaking do a slide out into outer space in NASA suits. Everybody does it because she literally like chunks people at me constantly, and I'm literally like, I either ignore it or I'm like chunk, or it's anyway. So she wore Crocs. I used to give her a freaking hard time all the time about her. She's like, why don't you like my Crocs? And I'm like, I hate the Crocs. She's like, I love the Crocs. I'm like, I hate the Crocs. She's like, I love the Crocs. We used to banter back and forth all the time. But anyway, Crocs are so freaking popular. You know, my son loves Crocs. My grandkids love Crocs. Everybody loves Crocs. But anyway, so it was just like funny memories of back then. But anyway, so Irene Cara, then Crocs, okay, now her husband worked at, he's a retired Army colonel, I believe he's retired Army, he worked at, I gotta get these two places confused, the names of them confused, Quantico and Guantanamo Bay. I actually decoded those. I get them confused, both of them. So Guantanamo Bay is the federal prison that's in Cuba, and Quantico is the FBI headquarters. Okay, he worked at Guantanamo Bay, so that shows you she was controlling his life too, okay? So they know this. So Gene Roberts and her cola stalked the ever-living heck out of all of us. Playing dolls with our lives is what she's been doing. Okay, so Anyway, so Quantico goes to this. So anyway, not Quantico obviously also goes this Guantanamo Bay. So people are in my brain at realizing Irene Cara, what a feeling. People were getting upset at what Jean was also doing using the Flashdance song. Like making fun of people that she's holding in prison there with the What a Feeling, and she pre-planned it. So another thing that Jean did, and it really angers me, it makes me mad. She died. Jean Roberts is the leader of Charles Manson. She did the World Trade Center attack and the Oklahoma City bombing. And I've told you this in my podcast previously. Do you know she died? I don't care about you faking Jean Roberts' death. Do you know she died Muhammad Khalid, who was accused of being the mastermind of the World Trade Center attack. Also, let me add in this, another game I used to love playing. Again, ICE. No, it wasn't Khalid Muhammad. It was Jean Jernigan Roberts. You can tell this is all Jean Jernigan Roberts and her Manson occult. This is ridiculous. One of my favorite games to play, and I was in 8th grade. Mastermind. Like, I literally had to go look up that game and research it and decode it. And go pull out Mastermind today, and you're gonna be like, oh my God, freaking Jean Roberts and her Manson occult. So anyway, she dyed his beard orange, and she needs to be in Guantanamo Bay. She needs to be arrested, and we've got people there that were charged for doing 9/11, and Jean Roberts did 9/11. She iced those pilots, and she pre-planned all this. I code it all the time, and she's just running wild and free with her 6'2" ass, running her little freaking Ponzi, stalking the hell out of everybody, acting like she's got some damn right to do whatever the hell she wants to anybody she wants, anywhere she wants. It's freaking insanity. People are angry, very, very angry. And people going, no, this is no big deal, and no. No, people are angry. Everybody is angry. And they're angry because you keep pandering and trying to smooth down military feathers around me. I don't know what it's like in Washington. I bet it's probably not like that in Washington. People are probably like, I can't wait for this to be over with. You're doing to the military what you do to everybody else. You're denying everybody the right or the allowance to feel the way that they want to freaking feel. You're pandering and you're condescending, and they're like, let me be your best friend, and oh my God, That's insincere. It's horrible. And you're also covering your butts, keeping them from going after you. That's angering. Anyway, so another thing that she did was, the another one of the punnies, you know how she puns the phrase put on, it's a put on, like you're pulling the wool over someone's eyes, pulling someone's leg. Okay, so another thing that she did was putting on airs. I know you're instantly breaking down the word airs. Jean Roberts needs to be arrested. Okay, another thing that she did was, this goes to my previous podcast, okay? So this podcast that was in just before the one before this one, it might be in the last one. I can't remember what it was now because Jean Jernigan Roberts blanked my short-term memory. I have it saved in my phone, but I don't have it noted out enough. I'm like in a in a quandary, because if I write down too much on my phone, she'll steal it and act like she's me. So I try to write down as minimal as I can until I can make a podcast and turn her in. But then when I go to like read my notes again to make my podcast, she shorts my short-term memory. And then she still runs off and tries to pretend to be me. It's ridiculous. But again, I don't know why she does that. She's so damn turned in. I don't know why she keeps it up. Anyway, in the previous podcast, there was something in there that I was decoding, okay? And it wasn't, I think it might be in the last podcast I was going over crimes this week, but it was last week's crimes, and I was decoding them, showing that Gene Jernigan Roberts is still committing terrorism around Earth. Okay, and then the one before that was a podcast like this, Loose Ends. Okay, so it's in there one, but anyway, there was something in there. There was a set of 3 of something, and it's driving me crazy because it's something I know and I've always known my whole life, like it's a favorite of mine or something. But I don't know what I was talking about. I don't remember now. But anyway, go back to play the podcast and you're gonna see it. The initials of KBB are in it, okay? So another thing that she did was patty cake. Now, you know Patricia Krenwinkel was in Charles Manson, okay? All right, so you have to see all my decode on paper going over and how Gene's body doubles and how all that works, okay? All right, so Patricia Krenwinkel, okay, she went by she had a whole bunch of aliases. I decoded all of her aliases. I've decoded so much of Gene Roberts and her Manson and cult is insane. But one of her aliases is like Big Patty or Yellow Patty or Big Yellow Patty or something like that. I can't remember what it is now. And when I was decoding it, I was realizing that the leaders of Charles Manson, these top people and their aliases, decoding everything, I'm seeing that they're talking about future plagues and future diseases. Okay, and I'm seeing that come out of their names. Okay, so anyway, Patty Cake, she used Patricia Krenwinkel, and then today we have, what is that donut place? I used to use them to tell on Gene Roberts, which they were like, I wasn't upset with them. Why would I be upset with them? They're probably like, they weren't probably like anything. They were freaked out. Oh my God, people are going to kill us. What do we do here? Like, they didn't even realize this. And then they were like, oh my God. And they're like, they stop controlling me right now. They were like, people told them, Christina's gonna use you in a positive way, keep you going strong. And you know how you put the light for donuts, fresh donuts already? Christina's just gonna make reports on the White House Facebook page and signaling to the White House using your company that Charles Manson is guilty, and Charles Manson is also holding on to stolen nuclear, and Charles Manson is a terrorist. So it will work out, so don't freak out. So anyway, that's what I did using my numbers, because I would go like 697 is up, 698 is up. That's what I was doing. So anyway, I still do that now, but now what I've picked up more on is what I've told you is making descriptions and doing a summary every week and putting it on White House Facebook page. So anyway, so Patty Cake's name, Patty Cake, she used that in this style, all of this, if you know what I'm saying. And then note the initials PC, peace. And then that probably goes to, it goes to nuclear, stop controlling my speech. So KBB is in that. Okay, so KGB is in that, and then Sharon Noble, which Gene Roberts and Manson Occult did Sharon Noble case. Shish kebab. That's what it was. It was shish kebab is what I was trying to remember. But there was something that the shish kebab went to. It was the KBB goes to something else and it spelled out shish kebab. Okay, so when my mom and my stepdad Jeff were making shish kebabs on the sun deck when I was little, and Tom and Sharon were over. Okay, so that whole memory is a whole cipher. That's a whole ice event. Gene iced the heck out of us. It's an entire cipher. He coded all of it. So people all over the world know, including Russia, including Ukraine, know shish kebab. Using shish kebab knows that means nuclear. They know that means nuclear. And it's been that way for several years. You can just go point to a shish kebab with someone and they'll know. If you're talking to people, they'll already know that means nuclear. So when it all comes from the sun deck, even Gene Roberts did that to me and my family. Me, Christina, Marie Stacia, and my family. Sorry, Gene Roberts is on her end doing a live thing, but she's pretending I'm all different members of my family, and then she's pretending she's in my family, and then she's doing her usual freaking charade lies crap and all the crap that she does, thinking she's cute. Anyway, so all of that goes together. Okay, then something else I want to point out. Okay, so in my backyard here, okay, I told you she controlled my whole life. Okay, so I am blessed to be here. There's no negative anything here. I love where I'm at. I'm blessed to be here. I love that I'm able to put my life back together. But Oxford, I'm sure you know. Green country. It may be in other Oxford, but it's gonna be wherever I'm at. This is like international land of mystery around here, okay? So it's like straight up DB Cooper. So there is stuff everywhere, okay? And you have to know what you're seeing, and you only know what you're seeing if you know my life from me decoding my life, and then you figuring out more, and then you see, oh my God, this is that, this is that, this is this, okay? So anyway, and it's like this on my street, okay? So anyway, so the backyard, okay, so more decoding of the backyard. So you know what Jean did? Okay, you know how she throws voices in my brain? She throws voices towards Sheridan, okay? She throws voices towards that direction in my brain. So, and also up towards Research, okay? So she's always throwing voices that direction. So it literally, when I'm listening in mental telepathy, I hear her talking from this direction. Now she tries to throw, it's always like this direction, okay? But anyway, I'm like got my hand out, like you can see me pointing my hand out towards Sheridan. But anyway, okay, so she's got like a spot claimed over here, okay? So I don't know the situation on this of the actual residents of the street, but I know all the residents on the street are aware of what's going on. But only thing I know is what's going on underneath this street, which I know all the residents know all that's going on too. People are running around underground around here. There's construction going on down there. There's all kinds of stuff going on. You're going to have to go through my whole podcast to find out everything that's going on. But anyway, so in the backyard, you know how she tries to pretend to be me? Okay, so this is what Jean did with the electrical wires. Okay, so you notice the power line that goes across with the backyard here. On my backyard is a single power line, and then my next door neighbor, when you get to their house, it goes into the next two houses down. It gets into a double power line. Okay, so I'm gonna take you down you're going to be like, oh my God, this is so stupid. But she really, really did this. Okay, so the 80s, she's real big on 80s stuff, okay? She wants to make everything around the 80s because that's her whole con and her whole gag. She doesn't want to be outed for lying or committing all this crime that she's been committing. She wants to run her gag and get away with crap, okay? So anyway, she wants to, so sitting at this area down here, she's like basically sitting at not free parking, at collect $200 and pass go is where she thinks she's sitting at the winning end, okay? So that is a belt. In the 80s, hanging belts were really, really popular. So it's when the belt wrapped twice around your waist, okay? If you guys remember the 80s, okay. And this one then would be a single belt. So the single belts were popular in the 60s. Remember the white leather belts? Remember the hippies? Okay, so really the single line should be over there and the double line should be over here. And also telephone company double, remember when they used to call telephone, when you switch, it would beep in your ear and you would flip over and you would call it a second line or a double line? So really the double line should be over here and the single line should be over there, but she flipped it because she's over there claiming she owns electricity and phone and everything else, and she's pretending to be me, is what's going on. So the other thing you should point out, this is very serious, okay? So this part of it may seem silly, but this is really true. This is really happening. She really, really did this. And she does this all by icing people. Okay, so you know the tree that she uses, and I use this as this. I'm like, well, this is what this is. This is how we're keeping it. I don't ever change anything that she establishes once I figure out what she established. Unless people are well aware that's what she established and they're like, no, this is changing to this. Because I want to make sure people know what Jean has done. Okay, so my neighbor's tree in the backyard, there's two trees in the back left side. So the first tree, Jean Roberts uses as the White House, okay? The actual White House in Washington, D.C. The second tree, everybody uses as FBI headquarters, what everybody uses it. But what Jean intended that tree to be, I think, is FBI and Native Americans, I think, is what she intended, which is what we use it for now. Okay, but she wants to commit all this crime and blame Native Americans, blame African Americans, blame Latinos, blame Asians, blame everybody. Jean is perfect. She gets away with anything. I swear to God, she thinks she's Pollyanna. She probably encoded Pollyanna in here somewhere too. She and her Manson occult and the Ku Klux Klan are the ones who are guilty. Nobody else did this. Jean Roberts did this. So anyway, above the tree that's the White House, look at the electrical wire and look at what she's got there. She's got a noose, but it looks like a wire, but it looks like it's a noose. So this is what's going on. She's pretending that she's me, okay, double belt land over here, whatever, double identity. You know, 2's her favorite number and everything else, okay? And then she's pretending I'm her. She's pretending I'm in Charles Manson. I'm not in Charles Manson. Jean is the leader of Charles Manson. Jean is in Charles Manson. And then she's like making threats with the noose, and she's acting like she's acting like she's running it, okay? Like she's running this whole ring and she's running it. So she's making threats with the noose is what she's doing. And it's electrical wire spun in a circle right above the White House, what signifies as the White House. So anyway, people have done all kinds of things with it since. The coolest thing, I'm not going to say what I saw, but people have done some really cool stuff, like putting Gene Roberts in her place. So, because Gene Roberts is lying. So, anyway, and Gene Roberts is Charles Manson. Da, 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 da. Everybody already knows that Gene Roberts is Charles Manson. Quit getting me to ramble my speech. Stop. So, anyway, okay, so another thing that she did was, okay, she also used the movie Weekend at Bernie's. Do you remember the movie Weekend at Bernie's? That's one of the first movies that Mario and I ever went to go see. And it's about this guy that dies. And these two young millennial idiots are like, don't want to fess up that he's dead. So they pretend that he's alive and they like chill in his house the entire like time on vacation. And they make Bernie look like he's alive everywhere, but he's really dead. Okay, so Gene use that, and then also that also connects to Bernie. There's a whole bunch of stuff here, but that also connects to Bernie Madoff. Now, she said when I worked at Research that Bernie Madoff has been helping her. I don't know what's going on, but as soon as people hear Bernie Madoff's name, they go, oh my God, Bernie Madoff. Oh my God, I see what Gene tried to do there. So what Bernie... I don't know Bernie Madoff. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know anything. All I know is he got in trouble for running a Ponzi, and she's claiming that he's helping her. So, and Gene's running a Ponzi, so he may be helping her. I don't know what's going on. I don't know, but Bernie Madoff. Okay, so another thing is, I'm going to do this in another recording, because this is at 38 minutes already. So let me do another recording.